Great. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. This is for the Housing Infrastructure Financing Program. I want to thank, at the outset here, I want to thank Business Oregon, the Association of Oregon Counties, Special Districts Association, and the Housing Accountability Production Office. Just want to clarify at the top, this webinar is being recorded. So it can be a resource for other folks if they're not able to make it. And shortly, I'll be handing it off to Business Oregon, but at the top, wanted to clarify a couple things. First, my name is Michael Martin. I'm one of your lobbyists here at the League of Oregon Cities, if you're one of our members, and working with our partners on this housing infrastructure program. And want to clarify first that what this webinar is and isn't. So there are emergency rules that have been put in place for this program and the award period, which Business Oregon will get into more detail. This discussion is going to be focused on this award period and application period. There will be a more permanent rulemaking later on after awards or after that application period closes. So just want to say that at the top. And then as you're listening to our presenters, please think of questions that have relevance to the current award period and are helpful in that end in putting forth the best application that you can. So with that, again, I just really want to thank everybody for making this webinar happen on such quick turnaround. And I will hand it over to Ed Tabor, who's the Infrastructure and Program Services Director for Business Oregon. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Michael. And yes, this has been a very fast-paced, not only to establish the program, which we'll get into here, and the need for the pace that we're running at here for this program, but we're excited about this program. We think there's a real opportunity here to help with housing infrastructure going forward. Becky Baxter here will go over some of the details of the program, but we do encourage some questions and answer session here at the end. So feel free to use the chat. And with that, Becky, I'm going to share my screen and we'll get the slide deck started here.
While that's coming up, I just want to acknowledge Lauren Dresden on the call today from the Housing Accountability and Production Office. She's been super helpful, as well as the rest of their team, in helping us with input and helping us with the collaborative effort that we've been enjoying to do with them, and we will continue to work with the Housing Accountability and Production Office. With that, I'll just quickly introduce myself, Becky Baxter. I am a program and policy coordinator for the housing infrastructure programs. We had one support program that has already been, the applications have been closed, and we're in the process of making our second round of awards for that program. And then we have this new program, the Housing Infrastructure Financing Program. And the purpose of this program is to provide grants, forgivable loans, or loans to eligible entities for the development or improvement of transportation, water, wastewater, or stormwater infrastructure, including improvements to system capacity, or site development, including the development of privately owned sites necessary for the improvement of transportation, water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure. These projects will primarily support a specified proposed housing development, and you'll hear us talking about that throughout this the presentation. The program is administered through the Infrastructure Finance Authority, which is housed within the Oregon Business Development Department, also known as Business Oregon. Currently, we do not have expenditure limitation authority for these funds. Prior to issuing any awards, we will seek expenditure limitation from the Oregon Legislative Assembly in the 2026 session. As Michael referred to, we do have emergency rules for this program. Those were filed with Secretary of State's office on October 1st, and we will be doing permanent rulemaking. And so we will make sure to include our partners in all of that as we move forward, because we want to make sure we have your input from that. The eligible uses are noted here. And they are for a specified proposed housing development. They can also be used on privately owned sites for the actual housing development. So maybe a street or pipe laying within the development itself. And that would be infrastructure for a developer that would be normally required. Eligible activities really are construction related activities, which could include property acquisition, like an easement or a right of way for the infrastructure. Direct project management costs are also eligible. And I do want to note that ineligible uses include administrative costs like your indirect costs, replacing already budgeted positions, and costs also not permitted with the bond proceeds are system development charges. We've had that question several times. And next slide, please. Sorry. So eligible applicants for the program, we usually refer to them as municipalities, lowercase. And this includes, as noted here, cities, counties, special districts, ORS 190 entities, which we all know are their council of governments. And just so that we all are clear on that part, housing authorities and housing developers are not considered an eligible applicant. However, they can be sponsored by an eligible applicant. In those situations, we would want some sort of an agreement that is or will be in place between the municipality and the developer or housing authority. Contracts awarded will be between the eligible entity between Business Oregon and the municipality. And then if there is a developer or housing authority, then we would want to see a sub-agreement between the municipality and the developer. As we've noted, the October 17 was when the application round opened. It closes on December 17th, and the scores are going to be based on what you see here on this slide. We will be doing a review committee to score on the items noted, and there are going to be some bonus points for consideration. This information is outlined in detail in the request for application, which is available on our website, and I believe we have a link for that coming toward further in the slide. Following the committee's scoring and award recommendations, we will be presenting that to our Infrastructure Finance Authority Board for review and potential approval. We expect that to occur in January of 26. And then from there, the recommendations and program report will go before the Joint Ways and Means Committee in approximately February of 26. And we will be requesting expenditure limitation at that time as well. Prioritization, there was some direction in the legislation of prioritization meeting density requirements, which we do have another slide about that specifically. And a couple of examples I want to note here for like a city of 25,000 or greater, the requirement would be 10 units per net residential acre if sited in a city. So those density requirements, again, we will show further information. For a project to be eligible for a grant or for forgivable loan, an affordable housing covenant will be required. For rental housing, the covenant must be for at least 10 years, and for homeownership projects, the affordability covenant must be for at least 5 years. If a project has an affordable housing covenant for greater than what our program requires, you don't have to do another one, because we know that there's some of these projects that might have other funding coming from Oregon Housing and Community Services that might have a 30-year covenant, for example. That would more than qualify and exceed the expectations for this program. The expectation too is that we will have the household served at or below 120% area median income. And then this last couple of bullet points are percentage of the funds of the 10 million that we were appropriated. 25% allocations are identified here on this slide. And that's to ensure we provide funding to our smaller rural areas as well. As mentioned, here's the minimum density requirements that was outlined in the legislation. So you'll want to keep that in mind as you're putting together your application. And these are preferences again. And then the next slide shows our key milestones, as we've already talked about the application round opening and, all the way through the legislative approval. These are, the program is funded through lottery bond sale. We expect that bond sale to happen in May of 2026. So approximately in that time period is when we will be having contracts and awards made and contracts executed, so that as soon as we have funds available, then projects can get going. And here's my program information or my information to contact me. And then we also have our webpage here. And if you want to sign up for our email listserv, then as the program evolves and as we have announcements made, then you'll be notified of that information. And with that, I'll turn it over to or open it up for questions.
Becky,
Oh,
before we
yeah.
open it up there, Michael, Becky, could you tell us a little bit about what's on the website as far as information that they can find there?
Sure. So on our webpage is a link to the statute, the Oregon Administrative Rules, the request for application, which is your guidebook for everything you want to know about filling out the application. The application is also on the website. We also have a sample contract. I would encourage you to look through all that information. And then to be coming soon are FAQs, our frequently asked questions or Q&A, so that if you have questions, maybe go there first, so that if we've already answered that, you can have the information. But of course, I'm more than happy to answer questions and help out in any way I can.
Thank you. Thank you, Becky. I think just before I get to some of the questions in the chat, you know, panelists, we can kind of both monitor that. I'm curious, are the pre-award costs an eligible expense?
Yeah, in this particular situation, pre-award costs are not an eligible expense. And we usually have other programs in our agency that do allow for pre-award costs, but this one does not. Great question.
Okay. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in order of what I see in the chat. So we had one attendee ask, did Becky say that the list of things or are not eligible SDCs? I think
Yeah, and I know I talk fast, so my apologies, especially when I'm nervous, and this is a lot of people, so I'm a little nervous. System development charges are not an eligible expense. We cannot use these funds to pay system development charges, and we made sure of that. We asked Department of Administrative Services and our legal counsel.
I see the next question is, there's a little bit of context to it, but I think the essence of the question is, would a rehab of exterior water sewer lines at the property be eligible?
This is for a specified proposed development. So if the development has already happened, then the rehab would not be an eligible activity.
Okay. Thank you, Becky. And then I'll go big one that I'm hearing here. It's several folks. We will be able to share these slides after the presentation. They'll certainly go out, you know, through the league bulletin and other channels with our partners who help put on this webinar. Okay. The next question I see here in the chat, and I just actually want to say something to the participants. So earlier, one of the latest links to come out for this webinar was sent from our communications director, and there are a number of folks that that was like a personal link. So if you are able to, and you registered for this event, use that link, and that comes back and that allows you to name yourself. So I'm able to see folks, because otherwise it's just sort of showing up as a repeat name here. Next question.
Michael, one thing we can do on that is just have people raise their hands. So if
I'm seeing
not identified, we can open their mics and have them ask their questions that way too.
Thank you. That I appreciate that. Okay, I got a question from Chloe Stewart. Are the affordability thresholds differentiated between home ownership and rental, i.e. the 120% AMI? Affordability applies to home ownership, but affordable rentals at a lower percent of AMI. I don't know if
120.
Yeah.
120% and below is regardless. It's for the housing as you know, generally speaking. There's nothing different whether it be rental or home ownership. It's 120% and below AMI.
Okay. Okay, another question from Derek Bradley. Are needed frontage requirements and eligible use of the funds?
Are needed for, I don't understand what the question is.
Just came from one of my infrastructure bureaus. They said there's a project that has a lot of frontage requirements around, I think, street improvements that's needed for the site to be turned into housing. They called them frontage improvements.
Okay. So if a municipality for that housing development, much like any other housing development, there needs to have this XYZ, let's say you have to do, a roundabout for traffic flow, transportation related, that would be considered an eligible activity. Yes. But again, this is, we're talking about a municipality would be the applicant in collaboration potentially with the developer. So there would need to be some, the municipality might be the one doing that work. So it just depends on how that particular development wants to put their project together. And I should note, I don't know if I said it in the slide show or not, but because these are infrastructure, public works type projects, prevailing wage will likely apply. And we've had that question multiple times as well. And we are not Bureau of Labor and Industry, but that is our understanding. So we would encourage applicants, developers to seek advice and information from their legal counsel moving forward.
Thank you, Becky. And thanks for the question, Derek. Okay, I'm moving along here through the questions in chat. I will get to some of the folks that I see two people have raised their hands as we get through these questions. So is there a deadline for when funds need to be spent by? Is a question I'm kind of seeing here from multiple folks.
The contract will be for 3 years. It'll be a 3-year contract. So yes, we
Okay,
expect that the project, and that will be a scoring criteria that we're going to be focusing on too, is readiness to proceed. All the funds are in place to make this project happen. And we want to see housing built as quickly as possible. So 3 years from the time the contract is executed to when the project should be completed.
okay. Right, thank you. Another one, Becky, and maybe you answered this in your presenting, but I think it's helpful. Does the project have to be associated with a specific housing development, or is a project to build general water or wastewater capacity eligible?
It has to be for a specified proposed housing development. That is in the legislation. So it is for building new housing units, not general capacity of a system.
Hey, Michael, you might have, there's a lot in the chat there. There was one that I'd like to make sure we address.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for
Is the
chiming
funding provided up front, or is it a reimbursement? Becky, I'll let you answer that. I can answer, but I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah, it is a reimbursement basis. So as costs are incurred, then the recipient would submit invoices to our project managers, and they would then disperse the funds back to the recipient to pay those invoices. Or if a recipient has, unobligated or uncommitted funds that they have, like a general fund that they can use to pay that invoice, the municipality or the recipient can also reimburse themselves. But it is a cost reimbursement basis.
So I don't have to pay it necessarily. I don't have to pay the invoice first and get like a true reimbursement. I can just submit
Either way,
invoices.
yes, because we know there's some recipients that you don't have a huge bank account that has funds that can just be used for that type of activity. They're designated for a specific purpose. So yes, you can provide the invoice to us. We would then disperse the funds back to the recipient. Recipient can then pay the invoice.
Great, thank you for that. So again, there are questions in the chat, the Q&A. I can either, the reason I want to help everybody understand this, the reason that I'm answering them and asking them is because I want this to be recorded. I want all attendees, just in case they're not you're not gonna be able to look at chat if you're on this call. So another one we got a little bit more process oriented. You mentioned the 12/17 application deadline. Are applications reviewed first come, first serve, or after they're all received?
After they're all received. We will not be reviewing until after the closing of the application cycle, and it is a competitive cycle. So they will be, put your best foot forward.
Okay, I'm gonna answer one more from the chat, and then I'm gonna go for a question somebody's been very patiently with their hand raised. Is design cost eligible?
If you're close to being done with your design, so it would have to be design and construction. Design only will not qualify. So it'd have to be design and construction. And keep in mind, we're looking for projects that are as ready to proceed as possible. So let's say you're to 75% design and you have a little bit more design work to do, and then you're going to move into construction at the same, like continue moving in that trajectory. It is possible that design costs could be paid for, but design only, no.
Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna go to a hand raised. Jamison Baird, you have your hand raised. Thank you for your patience. Please ask your question.
I apologize. I don't have any hit toggled on. I do not have any questions at this time.
Oh, okay. I'll go to, I see one more hand raised. Mark Trinidad.
Good morning. Thank you, Becky. I might have missed this, but it sounds like there are covenants required to be recorded on the property, and there are affordable covenants. Will they subordinate to a primary loan, or I think the case that we're thinking is that our project has a commitment from OHCS for lift funds. So would they be able to rely on those covenants, or is Business Oregon expecting separate covenants to be recorded?
Yeah, great question. No, we will, if there is another affordable housing covenant that is already in place because of, for example, Oregon Housing and Community Services funds, provided that the covenant is at least as long as what ours is, which is 10 years for rental, 5 years for home ownership, that will suffice. And we just need to be provided that so we know that we're meeting some affordability covenants. We don't want to make you do two things, like there's no need for that. So the 30 years will be satisfactory.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the chat here for a little bit, and then I'll get to another hand raised. We have a question about infrastructure such as power vaults in the right of way. Would those install costs be eligible if they're connected to a housing project?
It would have to fall under water, wastewater, stormwater, and transportation. So if it's only power, I don't believe it would be an eligible cost because the legislation was very specific.
Okay, I'm going to go to a question that hand raised here. Eric Swanson, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I had the question in the chat. And the questions basically is, can the developer pay the SDCs from their own, and not use grant proceeds?
SDCs are not an eligible cost under this program.
Okay, I'm not saying, I guess my point is, if the SDCs they're separate from the actual project. Can we charge the developers?
That's between you and the developer. That's between the municipality and the developer.
So the answer is yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go back. This says from an anonymous attendee, but I think it's worth asking. Is there any sense as to whether this will be an annual renewed funding source subject to legislative and governor's approval? They note that 10 million is named as the initial allocation.
I'll
Yeah,
take.
this is, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you that's a great question. I would say we have high hopes that this will be an ongoing program. That's how we designed the program. And again, the need then for the permanent rulemaking that'll take place. If folks may recall or maybe not know, but the original request to the legislature was for 100 million. And I think due to budget constraints, they've selected what they selected and allocated funds where they felt were appropriated or needed, and they only gave us 10 million. So we're excited for the first 10 million, and but we have hopes that there will be future funding to come in the next legislative session. What's that look like for 2025 or 26? I don't know. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, given the purpose of this this webinar, I don't want to go down that road too much, but I think everyone who knows is watching, we're entering some seriously challenging budget territory. It's consistently one of our top requests for our members to advocate for infrastructure funding. So we'll continue to have those conversations. So
Yep.
I'm going to go to a hand. I see Kai, I believe. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You have your hand raised. Oh, I saw it drop down. Okay. Gretchen, I see you have your hand raised.
Hi. King City is growing, and if we have in our plan when we're going to do a housing development, we're required to buy some property adjacent to the project for park. Would that qualify that purchase of parkland that's required for the development? I know it's an
Probably
oddball question.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just trying to think through the legislation. I don't believe that would be an eligible activity, because if you had to do acquisition for the infrastructure, that would be
Mhm.
different. But for the
Okay.
park, it would not fall under the infrastructure.
Okay, but for
I'll
the
let my-
infrastructure, for the water, sewer, that kind of thing would qualify for that
Correct.
development.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay. I've seen this question and again, just want to let everybody know you're listening. I'm moving through questions that are being asked in the chat, alternating with folks who have their hand raised. So if your question has not been answered yet, please raise your hand. That'll help me. I'm going through a lot here. Another question that I'm actually seeing quite a bit, Becky, can you kind of get into the technically, what do we often talk about shovel ready in this space. Can you elaborate? Does that mean pre-engineered? What are you going to be looking for when you're seeing these applications?
Yeah. Well, our project readiness will be looking at things like how much design has been completed. Is it ready to proceed in that, let's say the project cost is $15 million and you only have $2 million of secured funding and you're looking to us for another $2 million. We would not consider that ready to proceed, because we want all the funding to be in place to be able to get to construction as quickly as possible. So other things would be like, how far are you in your design? If you're a municipality, do you have a developer that is committed to a specified proposed housing development, or are they wishy-washy and they're thinking about it, they're still running numbers? That again would not be considered ready to proceed. So we're like the last penny in, and I probably should note that awards are going to be maybe up to $2 million. So we have a limited amount of funding. And so these are going to be kind of your gap funding, your last dollar in. You have your housing development, like you had everything penciled out, you had all your capital stack ready to go, and then some of your capital stack fell through and you've got this $1 million gap, that would be where we would come in. So we're talking about something that's like the excavators are almost on the property, I guess would be the way I would put it.
Okay. Thank you, Becky. Oh, I see, Angie Sullivan, I was just about to call on you, but I saw you lowered your hand. Maybe you got your question answered, but go ahead, please.
That was the answer I was looking for. But I kind of want to elaborate one step farther. I've got a subdivision that's nearly ready to dig on, but I'm going to trip counts that are going to require a major unexpected roundabout. So the kind of goes back to your roundabout example, which was like, I need to talk to her about this. So it would serve like 3 different communities for this traffic. Maybe there's something that we can talk about offline to help, like this project and then, or this opportunity and another we can be used in conjunction with like Lyft, but is there other things that we can be used in conjunction with?
Yeah, we could talk more about that offline, but if the roundabout is necessary for the specified proposed housing development,
Yes, ma'am.
because that would be considered transportation, even if it also have other ancillary benefits down the road, but it's a very specific need to get this housing development going, then I would say that that would be an eligible activity.
Okay, and then the other thing it's going to do is going to trip the city's sanitary treatment plant. Say I had funding from someplace else, would that help that city? It's just trying to figure out where the buckets come from, the buckets of, which bucket I pull from.
So would the city be doing this roundabout, or let me rephrase that. Does the city's sewer system have the capacity for this housing development?
We were going to push it to its limit with this subdivision. So they're going to need it on the next one.
Okay, it should be for the specified proposed housing development, not future development.
Okay, so perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great, thank you for that question. Okay, I'm going to go. As I'm looking through the chat, I'm obviously seeing some repetitive stuff. So if you have a question, please raise your hand that hasn't been answered. That'll help, and I'll go in order. I see Ralph Dunham. You have a question?
Actually had a couple. First one is the application says site control established for both infrastructure project and specified proposed housing. Can you tell me what that means? I'm a surveyor, so that means horizontal and vertical control. I don't think that's what this is asking for.
No, this would be like for developer, have they purchased the property? Is there either a trustee, or not a trustee, but is there a warranty deed that's been recorded that gives developer the ability to move equipment on that and start to do the development? If there is for just a city or a county or an eligible applicant who needs to do some infrastructure work, a part of that specified proposed housing development, do they have site control? Do they have the easements, the rights of way, again, controlled or under ownership, I guess would be another way to say it. Do they own the property in which they want to do the work? Or is that still part of the process that will have to be done? Not that acquisition isn't an eligible activity, but this is all about like, how far along are they? How ready are they to go? Do they need to do an easement to get that permanent easement taken care of before they can put in the infrastructure? Does that answer your question, Ralph?
It does.
Okay.
I would like on the affordability, I've made mention this many times. There's a missing portion on the affordability. This is just a personal issue. 120% of AMI, but the payment portion of that is either a third or 30%. So you're looking at another calculation in there. I don't know why they publish it that way, because a 30-year income is supposed to go to housing. They always say 120% of AMI, but that's not really the key element. The key element is the affordability, which is another number, and I wish they just clarify that.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. We've just based it
That
on
may
what
be
the
directly out of the language of the bill, but
right.
they're missing the last portion of the math, which is a third of that, as an annual rent payment or a monthly rent payment, or is it the element that's missing and never is published. So, because if you're looking, say, a $60,000 AMI, you're looking at $72,000. What's that mean? You're
Yeah,
not going to pay that a year for a house. That's your total income. But that's just a pet peeve.
yeah.
So I wish that would be clarified. The last statement I have is shovel ready is a dangerous element in that multiple times I've acquired funding that is truly shovel ready. And then a year and a half down the road to get a contract, I've already built it by the time. So that's kind of a tricky element in shovel ready. I get it if a project's on hold waiting for funding and can't go forth, and it's not Biz Oregon specific. I've had things that are shovel ready that we're spent half our money or 3/4 of our money before a contract ever comes. So you need to consider that. That's just a comment. I'm done with it. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Ralph. So I want to keep going through questions. We got 7 hands raised. So just a reminder to folks, I sent out an incorrect link earlier, kind of one of the later links. So when it shows you as raising your hands, it shows you as our comms director name. So if you're one of those folks, you know, maybe you could just go back and sign in through the link that you received when you registered. That will like help eliminate some confusion there, or just get your question in the chat. With that said, Nikki Messenger, I see you have your hand raised. And
so one question, one comment. Question is, are mobile home parks eligible? So water line to serve a new mobile home park?
Potentially, yes.
Okay. Second one's just a comment, or two, actually. So, you know, our budgets are adopted before this bill. So having a 2-month turnaround between when the program comes out, when the applications are due, and having us be able to say, yeah, we've budgeted the rest of this is really pretty difficult with Oregon budget law. So if we can recognize that by the next budget cycle, yes, we're going to have all of this in place, that would be helpful. And $10 million statewide makes it a little bit tough to want to go compete. 100 million would be, you know, what you asked for is what we needed. And so, anyway, I don't know what's going to be expected, because we don't budget projects we can't pay for. And so if we're going to go ask for $1.5 million from a grant that we don't know about because it hasn't been in legislation yet, that's not going to be in our current budget. So trying to get through those hoops of doing a supplemental budget during the holidays, I don't know how that's going to be judged as part of this process. So part comment, part question, I guess. What are you expecting as far as being able to show that we have the funds to do the match and finish the project?
Yeah, I know that timing is related to the budget cycle is not the most convenient, which was why we tried to get the program up and running as quickly as we could, because we're in a time crunch from when we need to have everything ready to report to Ways and Means. So, you know, I've already had the question that like some are going to potentially have to go back to do a special meeting or something like that. But if there is potential that there is going to be funding available, that would just be part of what the capital stack would look like in the application. And what status? Is it pending? Is it committed? If it's pending, what does that mean? Like it's pending, we're hoping we'll get something in 2028, or pending as in our, you know, our budget cycle is this and we've got this going and we're confident we'll have those funds available.
If I could take this opportunity also to, I would definitely encourage people to apply. I know there's $10 million. Part of this is also, I think, to show the legislature that, hey, there's definitely demand and the needs out there, and to have folks choose not to apply just because of, oh, it's only $10 million. That's not going to be enough I don't want to necessarily compete. I think we might be doing ourselves a disservice by not taking advantage of this opportunity to show the legislature, hey, here's the demand out there directly, and again, directly related to housing. Other piece I think, Becky, you hit it on the capacity piece of this, but there is an opportunity for capacity system improvements. But there is this tie still to a specific housing development to take place. And then again, back to the funding, there'd be one other, some of these could be actually loans that don't qualify for a grant. And that would then give the program the opportunity to revolve some of these funds as projects get completed, loans get repaid. That again speaks to having funding available beyond just this one $10 million cycle. I do probably expect a lot of this will be grant or forgivable loan there, but there is that opportunity for loans too that would give us some opportunity for future funding rounds as well.
Yeah, just recognize there's real costs for cities to go through those supplemental budgets, both in, paying for ads and resources of staff time to put those together. So I understand what you're saying. You want all these grant applications so we can show the legislature, we can show that without having to spend those resources. I mean,
Understood.
So if you need help getting that message to them, I guess, how do we also help with that? So thanks for your time.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Nikki, for the question. And Ed, thanks for mentioning that. I know this is kind of challenging. It does take time to apply. And I would also encourage please apply for this program. I think it arguably continues to push forward and show the demand for infrastructure. I know we all know that as we continue to push and advocate, I think, Nikki, you said it well, we asked for 100 and 100 is what we need, right? And, we need a lot more than that. But again, reminder, we're going to go until 11 o'clock. This is being recorded, and it will be a resource for folks to go back. But I'm going to answer as many questions as I can that I see hands raised. If you don't have your question answered, please ask it in the chat. That way I can kind of see some more recent questions. And with that, I'll go to Megan Tuck.
Hi there. I was wondering if you could go over the list of ineligible costs again with a little more detail, just because I think we skimmed over them a little bit in the slides. Thank you.
Sure. Let me just I closed my side of the PowerPoint, so I have to get back to that because I don't have it off the top of my head.
Well, as you look there, Becky, I'll speak to a couple. Some of them are restricted because of the proceeds. These are going to be lottery bond proceeds. So there are some restrictions, such as the system development charges not being one of those eligible expenses. They do need to be capitalized expenditures. So the less in soft costs and more in the actual construction is the preferred way to spend lottery bond proceeds. Becky, have you found?
I have.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the gap filler, Ed. So ineligible activities include administrative costs, like your indirect costs. If you have project management for the project, that would be an eligible cost, but administrative cost is not eligible. Supplanting already budgeted positions is not an eligible cost. Pre-award costs, debt service, lobbying activities, general purpose motor vehicles and equipment not essential for the project, operating and ongoing maintenance, except as allowed by statute, cost not related to the development or improvement of the infrastructure. So one of the questions we had was, if we are doing this and it's ancillary, the roundabout question that we had where it could benefit other activities. As long as that project is benefiting the specified proposed housing development, it will be eligible. But if it's only for system capacity unrelated to a specified proposed housing development, that would not be an eligible cost. And then again, system development charges, consulting or professional services and expenses not specifically for the infrastructure improvements would also not be allowed.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. I'm gonna go to the next question here. In the chat, because I see some more recent ones. There's this person, Damon, they have an 1,100 unit development that's being phased. Can funding be applied to a specific phase?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna go, Derek, I see you have your hand raised. I'm gonna get through some of the other questions and then I'll come back to you. Allie Camp.
Hey, thank you so much, Allie Camp, City of Springfield. I hope there's a lot of interest in this webinar because there's potentially a lot of interest in this resource, so thank you. I'm wondering if the housing units need to be delivered in a certain amount of time. I know that you had mentioned that the contract for the dollars is 3 years, but is there a commitment to have units of housing within a certain amount of time?
We have not specified that, but we would be looking at the timeline of the specified proposed housing development as well as part of our readiness, project readiness and scoring criteria.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I'm going to go to Will Dowdy.
Hello, thank you. My question is about again, about the readiness. You mentioned that you were looking to be the last money in, and I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding the difference between the infrastructure project and the housing development that's coming. Specifically with the housing development, are you looking to see a capital stack that's figured out, and especially related to the ORCA process and LIFT funds or LIHTC? Are you looking to see all of those secured? Because they would also like to see that the entire capital stack is figured out. So can you help us navigate everybody wanting to be the last one in?
Yeah, I know that's a poor example, isn't it? Like, well, we all want to be last one. Well, who's going to be first? So we're funding the infrastructure, of course, but we're also looking how far, that's part of how far along is that specified proposed housing development? Is there an agreement between the municipality and the developer to get X number of units built within this period of time in some sort of an agreement? How far along is that capital stack? Is it just starting? I know ORCA can take a while. And I know there's some that are doing the MERL program as well. The middle income revolving loan program that OHCS is putting out. So I don't know that my answer will be very helpful, except we're going to focus on the readiness and the funds in for the infrastructure project, but we're also going to be looking at how far along is the capital stack for the housing development project. Is that close to answering your question?
That's very helpful.
Okay,
Yep.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Keep moving here. Joshua Warner.
Hi, this is Josh with Hope Community Corporation. As part of potentially an eligible expense, would the purchase of manufactured housing, the transport and the installation of them be considered an eligible expense?
No, the acquisition is specifically for land that is needed for the infrastructure.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Gonna continue to go through here. So we have a question in the chat that came in from a city. They have a moratorium on development because of needed wastewater treatment improvements. Could the funds be used for the required improvement to lift the moratorium?
No, I mean, Ed, please chime in if I'm incorrect, but our understanding of the legislation is this is very much for the proposed housing development, not to take care of the system capacity so the moratorium could be lifted. we do have some other programs at our agency that can help with that type of infrastructure work.
You. Okay, I'm gonna, okay, another question here in the chat. I think you touched on this a little earlier, Becky, but maybe a little more narrowed focus question. Does the prevailing wage apply to the work under the grant or the entire project?
Our answer is, speak to your legal counsel.
Okay.
Because we do not know. So you would need to speak with your legal counsel and have decided that's a conversation you want to take up with the Bureau of Labor and Industry.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, Derek, I'm gonna go to you. Derek Bradley.
Thanks, Michael. Pulling back a ways to the question about funds needing to go to a specific housing project. Does that need to be a specific building or two, or can it be, we have a large redevelopment or development project that's gonna have multiple buildings and we need, there's just like we're making a new sewer pipe to service all these buildings that are gonna get built out.
So so if you would consider that to be a specified proposed housing development, then it
Yeah.
would qualify under the legislation.
So it doesn't have to be like this building on this lot is going to be the thing that we're building around. It could be we have this development project's going to span several lots. They need the sewer access to build the housing. Bam. That works.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, as we're kind of we have 9 minutes left of this webinar. Again, we're gonna go to 11. But maybe this will kind of be helpful, and I'll repeat again. So we have some questions in the chat about getting a one-on-one scheduled with Ed, Becky, you and your team. Is that something that you all are offering and have sort of open office availability, meet with different folks interested in this program?
Yeah, for sure. And I've already actually met with a few people. So just, you can send me an email. My information was there on the slide. And you can send me an email. We can coordinate a time to meet and discuss your project in greater detail to kind of get a better idea of what you have in mind and if it would fit the program.
And I would also let folks know they work with our regional development officers as well. We have regional developments. For those that don't know, we have regional development officers, 12 of them located across the state of Oregon. You can go to our website to find the one in your area. Our regional development officers are a great resource to not only access this funding, but Business Oregon has a lot of other funding, as Becky mentioned, certainly for infrastructure and other needs. So definitely take advantage of your regional development officers.
Great, thank you. And maybe to our team who's helping put on this chat, maybe if there's a way we can have that slide with the contact information up as we kind of wind down, that would be immensely helpful. And I'm pretty sure we can still take questions as we do that. But I see one other hand raised. I just want to remind folks, it says that you're a comms director. I'm assuming you're not, but if you have your hand raised and you want to ask a question, please do that. I see one person with their hand raised.
Hi, hopefully that's me. This is Eric with the City of Donald. There was a question earlier about the moratorium issue and whether or not that would be eligible. This moratorium is in fact related to a particular housing development that was on the governor's workforce housing priority list. We had to stop that development because we were out of sewer capacity and we had to put a moratorium on it. So we've been looking for funding to continue that project and also to give us capacity to continue that project.
Yeah, I would, again, capacity tied to a specific development is eligible, and what you're describing there sounds to me like I would be looking at submitting an application.
Okay, great. Thank you. And while I have you, we have another infrastructure project too I wanted to ask about. We have an ARPA project that we have been working on, and we've since had to stop that project. It's a water well project that's also associated with more or less with that development, because we do need the capacity, but we've run out of funds given the cost of the increase in construction and materials during our time working on the project. So we've had to stop the project. We can't complete it with the current ARPA funds that we have, so we're looking for gap funding as well for that.
You should definitely talk to probably your regional project manager. I believe that would be Michelle Bilberry, if you haven't reached out to her, or maybe it might be someone else. But there's other funding sources available, whether it be, sounds like, well, SPWF. Unfortunately, it would be considered a loan most times, as the Special Public Works program is primarily a loan program. But I would definitely work with your regional project manager who's working with you on that ARPA project. They can certainly assist you with that.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you for the question. Do you have a question in the chat? Pooja Dalal, can a city apply for more than one project? Or I guess any entity for that matter.
I mean, one certainly could, but again, limited funding, but they certainly could. There's
Okay.
there's no minimum or maximum applications that could be submitted. I would just say go with your best project, most ready to go project or projects.
Okay. Great. And Ed or Becky, would you be able to put it into present mode so it has that contact information part of the slide, just as folks, and I'm seeing folks we're kind of, as we're winding down. So I'd see, okay, so I see 3 more hands raised. I want to make sure that I get to these folks, but you are named as our comms director. So if you have your hand raised, please come off mute and ask your question, and then we'll start to wrap up here with just some.
Hi there. My tribe just recently finished construction on 7 new homes. Does that qualify to receive funding for water infrastructure upgrades?
Now, say again, please.
My tribe just finished construction on 7 new homes. Does that qualify to receive funding for water infrastructure upgrades?
Though this would, I don't know that it would, because this is supposed to be for proposed new development, not for already constructed development.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I had a question.
Oh,
Scott from Sisters. It's similar to the.
Oh, great. Hey, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Similar to that previous question. Sounded like she was talking about units that were already done. How about units that are under the subdivision is under infrastructure construction currently, has not gone vertical yet with any of the units. Would that apply?
If the project is not completed yet, if the housing development is not completed, and again, we were talking about, you had cost overruns and there's a gap in the funding now because, the infrastructure cost more than was anticipated in the design work. We would consider that an eligible project. It's just if it's already completed and, the infrastructure wasn't done, but the housing is completed, I don't believe that would be an eligible activity.
Okay, so kind of have to be under the characterization of there needs some gap funding to finish the project.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, we got 2 minutes left. Again, we're going to go till 11. I see Becky, Ed, can you explain the difference in terms of grants versus loan? Like, are there variations in eligibility? And maybe this is something you covered a little bit, but I just kind of wondered if you could explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so the program allows for grants, forgivable loans, or loans. And to be eligible for a grant or forgivable loan, there has to be an affordable housing covenant, either recorded or to be recorded before the project is completed. And then the loan would just be a loan. It's our understanding that sometimes a capital stack, it makes a difference if someone's getting a loan or a grant depending on how it's being used. If a developer is going to be working with a municipality to do the infrastructure work, it makes a difference in their capital stack. So it's really up to the applicant to choose if they want to do grant, forgivable loan, or a combination therein. So, and then loans will be underwritten and will require the full faith and credit pledge of the applicant as part of the repayment source. And then we would underwrite to make sure that the payment can be made. And Ed, I'll defer to you if you have more to add on that.
Yep, that was good.
Great. Well, we're at 11. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Again, I want to thank Business Oregon, Association of Oregon Counties, Special Districts Association, Housing Production Accountability Office. Thank you, Lauren Dressert, for your work there. And just thank you, everybody who took time to attend. If you have any questions, please follow up and we'll get this recording out. And, yes, please apply for the program. And any final words, Ed, Becky?
Just thanks for having us and putting this together. Really appreciate the partnership.
Yeah. Thank you all. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks. Bye.